Look at this ghetto trash bringing her sick kid here like she owns the place. Dr. Susan Holbrook's voice sliced through the crowded emergency room of North Crescent Medical at exactly 2:47 a.m. Security. Get these people out before they contaminate something. 20 tired patients looked up from their phones. The worn, black woman clutching her feverish 8-year-old daughter didn't flinch. She wore a midnight blue tailor blazer, sharp even at this hour. Her daughter's elite academy uniform peeked out beneath her coat. Dr. Holbrook took a dramatic step back, pinching her mask over her nose. She made an exaggerated face of disgust, loud enough for the entire ER to see. The security guard wavered. 3 people began filming. The woman's designer handbag rested deliberately at her side. A diamond-studded watch flickered under the hospital's fluorescent lights. She pulled her daughter closer. Have you ever been judged so deeply that they forgot you were even human? The digital clock above the nurse's desk now read 2:51 a.m. 9 minutes until shift change. Janelle Harris adjusted her daughter Nia's weight in her arms. Her fever had hit 103 degrees an hour earlier, back at their gated home in Parkwood Heights. She had driven straight from an emergency board meeting, still wearing the charcoal gray Armani blazer that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Ma'am, I need to see insurance verification before any treatment. Dr. Holbrook crossed her arms and raised her voice, making sure the entire ER could hear her. That'll be $2,000 up front. Cash only. Heads turned. A construction worker shifted uncomfortably in his seat, wincing at the number. An older woman clutched her Medicare card like it might vanish. Janelle reached calmly into her black Hermes Birkin. The leather? Butter soft. The stitching? Flawless. Unmistakably real. She pulled out a platinum Blue Shield Executive Preferred card, the kind only Fortune 500 board members ever see. Dr. Holbrook snatched the card without even glancing at it. Probably stolen from her boss. They always try insurance fraud first. The college student in corner chair 12 raised his iPhone 14 Pro just a little higher. His TikTok live stream, #JusticeWatch2024, now showed 847 viewers and rising fast. Comments poured in too quickly to follow. This is disgusting. Someone tagged the news. Record everything. Don't stop. Doctor, this is a legitimate insurance card issued to my family. Janelle's voice was cool, practiced, the voice of a woman used to negotiating 7-figure contracts. My daughter needs immediate care. Her fevers spiked dangerously. I seriously doubt that. Holbrook turned up the theatrics. She spun to the rest of the room like she was addressing a courtroom jury. Look at her. Trying to play the system. Probably doesn't even live in this zip code. From Janelle's purse, a few items had shifted during the standoff. A first-class Delta SkyMiles boarding pass peeked out, her last business trip to San Francisco. The unmistakable gleam of a black titanium Amex Centurion card caught the harsh ER lighting. Invitation only. $10,000 annual fee. A Metro General VIP parking validation stub slipped out and landed on the scuffed linoleum floor. Only one person noticed, Nurse Alina Mendoza, 6 years deep in ER chaos. Something about this whole scene felt dangerously off. The woman's poise, her tone, her exhaustion tightly contained. This wasn't just another late-night patient. The live stream jumped again. 2,100 viewers. #Eracism began trending on the local Metro feed. Screenshots circulated through Facebook community groups like wildfire. The hospital's Google business profile lit up with 1-star reviews in real time. Racist staff. Discriminatory behavior. This is why we don't trust the system. Mommy, my head hurts really bad. Nia's voice was barely more than a whisper beneath the buzz of the waiting room. Her small hand clutched at her mother's blazer sleeve. Can we just go home now? No, sweetheart. Janelle shifted her daughter gently, feeling the heat radiating through her St. Matilda's Academy uniform blouse. Mommy's going to fix this whole place tonight. Her voice was soft, meant for her daughter alone, but the intensity behind her words made Nia's big brown eyes widen in silent understanding. This was her mother's business voice, the same one that made millionaire investors fidget in boardrooms. From the staff elevator, Night Administrator Caroline Voss appeared, her wrinkled gray Macy's suit sagging after a 14-hour shift. She'd been watching the situation unfold from the security feeds upstairs. The incident played out on 3 different camera angles. Dr. Holbrook, what exactly is the situation here? Just your standard Friday night mess. Holbrook shrugged, casual. Looks like an insurance scam. Possibly a transient. Definitely going to escalate. I've already alerted security. Voss took her own mental snapshot of the woman standing before her, the sharply cut European blazer. The unwavering posture, even while cradling a visibly ill child. The luxury pieces that were far too specific, too authentic to be anything but real. But Caroline Voss had worked alongside Susan Holbrook for 8 years. And sometimes personal loyalty blurred professional judgment. "Ma'am," she said coldly, "if you can't provide valid documentation, hospital policy requires that you seek treatment elsewhere." Voss stepped into position beside Holbrook, forming a united front, cold, official, immovable. "We have verified insurance patients waiting for emergency care." Near the entrance, security guard Malcolm Rivers shifted his weight uncomfortably. He'd watched the entire confrontation unfold from the first word. His own daughter, Zara, was the same age as the girl clinging to this woman's side. She even attended a school in the same private district. The parallel made his stomach twist with guilt. "I've provided proper documentation," Janelle said, her voice smooth, the result of years in high-stakes negotiation rooms. "I have premium insurance. I have the financial means. And I have a critically ill daughter who needs immediate medical attention." Financial means. Holbrook's laugh echoed across the ER. "Right. Let me guess. A couple crumpled 20s stuffed into that fake designer bag." The insult was a spark. 7 more smartphones rose from around the waiting room like a synchronized wave. The primary live stream viewer count surged to 4,300 and climbing. Facebook community groups posted the link with fire emojis. Twitter's algorithm picked up the hashtag #eracism tag and pushed it to trending. Janelle adjusted Nia against her hip with practiced ease. With her free hand, she pulled out her iPhone 14 Pro Max, smooth, deliberate. Her manicured finger tapped through her contacts until she landed on one marked simply, Margot, Executive Assistant. "Excuse me," Holbrook scoffed, voice dripping with theatrical smugness. "And just who are you calling at this hour? Your dealer? Some baby dad?" She leaned in, adding louder, "Security's not going to fold just because you make a scene." The phone connected on the first ring. "Margot, it's Janelle Harris." Her voice rang out, clear and composed, across the now silent emergency room. "Yes, the Janelle Harris from tonight's board meeting. I need you at North Crescent Medical immediately. Emergency department. Bring legal." The waiting area went dead quiet. Even the live stream comments seemed to freeze in suspense. Holbrook's smirk started to falter, the cracks showing. "Harris Medical Group," she barked. "You're actually claiming to work there?" Janelle ended the call slowly. Precisely. No wasted motion. She reached into her Birkin one last time. Her fingers found the heavy cardstock. Embossed lettering. Gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Janelle Harris, Chief Executive Officer, Harris Medical Group, gold foil logo, corporate headquarters, +1 to 800. Executive Assistant direct line, +1 to 800. She held it up, not for Holbrook, but for everyone. "And that," she said softly, "is just the beginning of who I am." The emergency room clock ticked over to 2:55 a.m. 5 minutes until shift change. Harris Medical Group. The name hung in the air like smoke after a building fire. Thick, undeniable, dangerous. Every medical professional in the tri-state area knew that name. The largest private healthcare network in 4 states, operating 23 hospitals and dozens of urgent care centers. Annual revenue, $2.8 billion. Dominating 34% of all specialist referrals in the region. The business card trembled in Holbrook's sweaty hand. The real gold embossing shimmered under the unforgiving ER lights. Micro-printed corporate seals. Direct executive extensions, the kind that bypassed standard admin channels and rang straight into corner offices. "Mrs. Harris, I deeply apologize for this extremely unfortunate misunderstanding." Holbrook's voice cracked like ice under a boot. Sweat glistened across her forehead, even with the AC blasting. "Had I known your corporate position, your professional standing, my position." Janelle's eyebrow lifted, sharp, deliberate. "Surgical." "What position?" Janelle said quietly, her voice slicing through the silence, "justifies treating a sick child with basic human dignity and medical care." The TikTok live stream viewer count exploded past 15,000 and rising fast. Comments blurred past the screen faster than the eye could follow. "Fire her immediately. This is going nuclear. Justice for that baby. Racism. Caught. live. Instagram stories lit up across age groups, zip codes, and income brackets. TikTok's algorithm locked in, pushing the video to trending feeds in 3 major metro areas within minutes. Voss stepped forward, finally snapping out of her administrative trance, damage control instincts flaring. "Mrs. Harris, perhaps we can relocate to a private consultation room. Somewhere more appropriate to discuss this." "Discuss what exactly?" Janelle adjusted Nia's increasingly limp body against her hip. She could feel the heat radiating through the St. Matilda's Academy shirt. "Whether my 8-year-old daughter deserves emergency care. Whether I qualify as human enough for your medical establishment." From treatment room 7, the door swung open. Dr. James Chun stepped out, having just finished suturing a laceration from a construction site injury. He paused, taking in the scene, the silence, the cameras, and the tension that hung thick in the air. He immediately recognized the escalating chaos, the tense silence, the lifted phones. But more importantly, he recognized the distinctive Harris Medical Group business card now being passed between stunned patients like a piece of classified evidence. Dr. James Chun had completed his entire residency at Harris Memorial Hospital downtown, the flagship of Janelle Harris's vast medical empire. And now here she stood, in his emergency room, holding a critically ill child. He approached with the steady professionalism of a man who knew exactly what was at stake. "Mrs. Harris, I'm Dr. James Chun, attending emergency physician. May I examine your daughter immediately?" For the first time that night, something flickered across Janelle's exhausted face. Relief. "Please, doctor. Her fever shot up over an hour ago. She's had a pounding headache, and she keeps saying her neck really hurts." "Absolutely. Treatment room 12 is open right now." They barely took 2 steps. "Wait. Just 1 minute." Holbrook lunged between them, physically blocking the hallway. "I am the senior attending tonight," she snapped. "I make all treatment decisions in this emergency department." Chin studied his colleague's increasingly flushed face. The rigid stance, the sharp breathing, the panic swimming behind Holbrook's dilated eyes. "Patricia," he said firmly, "this child needs immediate medical intervention. Her symptoms are consistent with possible meningitis." "I determine medical necessity protocols in this department," Holbrook snapped back. Her voice cracked into a higher register, shrill and trembling. "I've practiced emergency medicine for 25 years. I know an insurance scam when I see one." And with that, the live stream detonated. Viewer count blasted past 28,000. Local news desks jolted awake, producers scanning TikTok and Facebook like radar operators under siege. Channel 7's night assignment editor dispatched a mobile crew without hesitation. Meanwhile, the hospital's PR director was bombarded, 17 urgent voicemails in under 6 minutes. Insurance fraud. Chun looked down at the still-crumpled Platinum Blue Cross Executive Preferred card in Holbrook's shaking hand. The card shimmered beneath the ceiling lights. "This is a verified corporate account," Chun said, his voice sharp and steady. "Premium coverage. Reserved exclusively for Fortune 500 executives and their immediate families." "Anyone can fake documents these days," Holbrook snapped back. "Computer tech, graphic software, it's not that hard." But Chen's voice cut through the air like surgical steel. "You are refusing care to a critically ill child, based on racial profiling, in front of over 30 witnesses, while being live-streamed to tens of thousands of people across multiple platforms." The waiting room no longer felt like a hospital. It had become an amphitheater of justice, buzzing, breathless, electric. Phones captured every angle. In corner chair 23, an elderly black woman wept softly, shoulders trembling. A Latino construction worker with fresh bandages on both hands rose silently to his feet, fists clenched. 3 college students formed a protective semicircle around the student running the primary live stream, guarding the signal like sacred truth. Then, quietly but deliberately, security guard Malcolm Rivers made his decision. He unhooked his 2-way radio from his belt and placed it gently, almost ceremonially, on the reception desk. "I'm not removing anyone from this emergency room tonight." Voss stared at him in stunned disbelief. "Excuse me? You're refusing a direct administrative order." "I'm refusing to participate in a civil rights violation," Malcolm replied, loud enough for the cameras to catch every word. "And it's being documented, live." He crossed his muscular arms, grounding himself like a wall. "My daughter Zara goes to school with girls who look exactly like this one." Kesha's iPhone buzzed, insistent and rhythmic. The screen lit up, Margot, executive assistant. She answered with one smooth motion and hit speaker. Mrs. Harris, came Margot's voice, clear and commanding. I'm in the hospital parking garage now. The full legal team is with me. Hospital administration is on an emergency conference call. The board of directors has been notified and activated. How would you like to proceed? Every person in the ER heard her. The voice didn't tremble. It didn't beg. It didn't ask for dignity. It delivered it. This wasn't a bluff. This wasn't protest theater. This was a corporate strike, precise, prepared, and already in motion. Holbrook's face had lost all color. Legal team, she murmured, barely audible. Dr. Patricia Holbrook, Kesha began, her voice steady, refined, boardroom-level lethal. You have refused emergency care to a critically ill child. You have engaged in documented racial discrimination. You violated multiple federal civil rights laws, Kesha continued, and it's all been recorded, witnessed, and streamed live to over 30,000 people. The social media numbers were staggering. #eracism had climbed to the number 3 trending topic across the entire metropolitan region. Screenshots lit up Facebook community groups, many with over 50,000 active members. Instagram stories were multiplying by the second, across race, class, and zip codes. News stations scrambled into red alert mode. Producers queued up breaking news lower thirds. Anchors were rushed into makeup. I want to see the senior hospital administrator. Immediately. Voss tried desperately to claw back a shred of control. This situation clearly requires senior-level intervention. But Kesha didn't flinch. For the first time all night, she smiled. Not smug, not mocking, just knowing. It was the kind of smile that sent a cold wave through everyone watching. Janet Voss, she said evenly. Night administrator. Annual salary, $78,000. Performance reviews? Available in your personnel file. Voss stepped back, reflexive. Unthinking. How do you know my salary? Kesha's tone remained casual, almost warm. I know everyone's salary in this hospital. I know the departmental budgets, the equipment contracts, the vendor accounts. I know the malpractice insurance premiums, too. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. This wasn't just about Harris Medical Group connections. This was something deeper, something immediately more powerful. Nurse Mendoza leaned in, whispering to a colleague. She knows way too much about our internal operations. Kesha didn't stop. Her voice was smooth, deadly precise. I know Metro General received exactly $47.2 million in referrals from Harris Medical Group last fiscal year. I know that represents 31% of your total operating revenue. And I know that without those referrals, this hospital would be facing immediate financial restructuring. The live stream comments detonated again. She owns them. This is insane. They're done. Queen Energy. 1 minute left. The clock ticked to 2:59 a.m. And then 3 a.m. exactly. Kesha Harris reached into her black Hermes Birkin one final time. Her manicured fingers found the thick leather portfolio she hadn't touched all night. The real reason she knew every salary, every referral contract, equipment ID, and maintenance clause. She stepped forward, calm and deadly. Dr. Holbrook, you asked who I am. Kesha's voice echoed through the utterly silent emergency room. Allow me to properly introduce myself. She withdrew a thick document bound in corporate navy blue leather. The gold embossing shimmered beneath the hospital's fluorescent lights. Confidential, Metro General Hospital Board of Directors. Every smartphone in the room zoomed in instantly. The primary TikTok live stream shot past 45,000 active viewers. Comments flooded the screen, faster than anyone could read. Would I ask that? This is going to be legendary. Someone screen record now. I've got chills. Let's go. I am Kesha Harris, she declared, her voice unwavering, Chief Executive Officer of Harris Medical Group. She opened a leather portfolio to the first official page. And I am also chairman of the Board of Directors of Metro General Hospital. The gasp that followed was immediate, both in person and across social media. Even the live stream's comment section struggled to keep up with the data flood. She's the chairman. Whitmore is done. This is historic justice. Call the coroner for Drive W. But Kesha Harris wasn't done. With deliberate grace, she turned to the second page. Slow, precise, undeniable. Official share ownership certificates, state corporate filings, notarized legal documents sealed by the Secretary of State. I own 51% of Metro General Hospital, she said clearly, through Harris Healthcare Holdings, LLC, a Delaware corporation established in 2019. The emergency room fell into a new kind of silence. Even the aggressive air conditioning seemed to pause, as if paying tribute. Dr. Holbrook's face drained from pale to ash gray to a nauseated, unmistakable green. Dr. Holbrook's distinguished medical career wasn't just in jeopardy. It was in freefall, her entire existence now completely at the mercy of a woman she had publicly called ghetto trash in front of dozens of witnesses and tens of thousands online. You, her voice barely made it out. You actually own this entire hospital. Kesha's gaze didn't waver. I don't just work here, Dr. Patricia Holbrook. I own it here. Voss, the night administrator, stumbled backward, losing her footing and collapsing into an empty wheelchair. Her $78,000 salary, her performance reviews, her benefits package, all personally signed by executives reporting directly to Kesha Harris's holding company. Then came the third page, the most devastating reveal of the entire night. Dr. Patricia Holbrook annual gross salary, $247,000 malpractice insurance premium, $89,000 pension fund contributions, $31,000 healthcare benefits, $18,000 all compensation paid directly by Harris Healthcare Holdings LLC. Kesha's manicured finger traced the signature line. Your signature here, she tapped once. And my authorized signature here. Dated November 15th. 3 years ago. The day we acquired this hospital. The TikTok live stream had officially evolved into a global event. Viewer count, past 78,000, and climbing like a rocket. International viewers began flooding the live stream. From Canada, the UK, Australia, Germany, and beyond. Within 8 minutes, the hashtag #eracism trended worldwide. Top 3 in 14 countries simultaneously. Dr. James Chun stood completely still beside the medication cart. He had trained for years inside the walls of Harris Memorial Hospital, but he had never seen Kesha Harris in person. All the press features, all the medical journal photos, none of them captured this. The calm force, the commanding presence, the undeniable authority radiating from her, even under fire. Mrs. Harris, he finally said, summoning his voice. I had no idea you were the hospital's majority owner. Kesha turned to him and nodded. There was warmth in her expression now. Real gratitude. Dr. Chun, you acted with medical integrity. You saw a critically ill child who needed help. You honored your oath, unlike certain others here tonight. Then, hesitantly, another figure stepped forward. Nurse Maria Mendoza, hand shaking slightly, eyes wide with equal parts fear and resolve. Mrs. Harris, I'm Maria. Maria Mendoza. I'm from the cardiac unit. I've worked at Metro General for 6 years, Nurse Mendoza said, her voice barely steady. I knew something was wrong the moment I saw how tonight was unfolding. Kesha turned toward her with clear purpose. Nurse Mendoza, your personnel file shows consistent excellence, high patient satisfaction scores, and a strong record of advocacy. You have absolutely nothing to worry about tonight. The distinction was surgical. Those who upheld the core values of care and humanity recognized immediately. Those who enabled or carried out bias, cruelty, or discrimination faced a different fate. Then came Margot's voice, clear and cool through the iPhone speaker. Mrs. Harris, the full legal team has arrived. They're in the main lobby. Senior hospital administration has been briefed on the situation via emergency call. The board of directors is convening in a secure video conference. CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC have all requested formal statements within the hour. The comment section froze for a moment in stunned silence. CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. This made it to national news. She's rewriting history. In real time. In under 3 hours, a localized act of racism had become a national reckoning. Kesha turned, now standing fully squared with Dr. Holbrook. Her gaze was laser-focused, unwavering. 25 years of medical practice. Thousands of patients cared for. Hundreds of lives saved. And now, all of it teetering on the edge because of one night. One decision. One choice to dehumanize. Mrs. Harris, please. Holbrook's voice cracked, raw, unguarded, desperate. I have a family to support. I have a mortgage. I still have med school loans I haven't paid off yet, Holbrook whispered, her voice breaking completely. Kesha didn't blink. Then you should have considered those financial obligations, she said calmly, before traumatizing my 8-year-old daughter in front of 30 witnesses and 78,000 live stream viewers. Nia stirred weakly in her mother's arms. Her fever had risen dangerously, 104.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Her breathing was shallow. Labored. All the power, all the exposure, none of it erased the reality. This was still a legitimate medical emergency. Dr. Chun, Kesha said sharply, refocusing, my daughter needs immediate care. Will anyone else be obstructing that tonight? The answer was instantaneous. Every single staff member in the emergency room stepped aside. The hallway to treatment room 12 opened like parting waters before sovereign authority. Absolutely not, Mrs. Harris, Chun said with renewed clarity. We'll run a full blood panel, administer 4 antipyretics immediately, and begin meningitis testing within minutes. As Kesha carried Nia forward, she paused deliberately beside Holbrook, who still stood frozen at the nurse's station. Dr. Patricia Holbrook, her voice was low, steady, final. You have one choice to make tonight. Resign, now, with a neutral professional reference letter. Or be terminated for cause with a federal discrimination lawsuit that will follow you to every future medical employer in this country. The ultimatum cut the air like a surgical blade. Cold, sharp, precise. Security footage from tonight, she continued, will be reviewed in full by our legal team tomorrow. Patient witness statements will be documented under oath. Social media evidence has already been preserved and archived by our IT security division. This incident now has over 78,000 documented witnesses, Kesha stated, across multiple digital platforms. That's when Janet Voss finally found her voice, thin, shaky, but audible. Mrs. Harris, surely this can be handled internally, through the proper channels. Kesha's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. Janet Voss, she said calmly, you actively supported racial discrimination against a critically ill child. You threatened to call the police on a mother seeking emergency care. You stood by and enabled this entire situation through administrative cowardice and professional negligence. There was no anger, no theatrics, just precise legal language delivered with professional clarity. Your employment contract contains a morality clause. Section 4.3 explicitly addresses discriminatory conduct toward patients. Violation of that clause results in immediate termination, with no severance and no benefits continuation. Voss collapsed into her desk chair. 22 years of administration, 22 years of reliable paychecks, gone in one catastrophic night of silence. Meanwhile, the college students' TikTok live stream had become appointment television. Viewers across time zones were skipping work, canceling appointments, messaging friends to stay up, you have to see this through. This wasn't just viral anymore. This was real-time social justice. From down the hall came a firm, clear voice, Mrs. Harris. Dr. Chun, standing in the doorway of treatment room 12. We're ready for Nia's care. As Kesha stepped into the sterile room, her iPhone lit up, buzzing relentlessly. 17 missed calls. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, BBC, Reuters. The Associated Press had already issued a breaking news alert. The story was poised to cross oceans, headed for global media coverage. But in that moment, none of it mattered more than her daughter's shallow breathing and the burning fever still climbing inside her tiny frame. Kesha leaned in, brushing the hair from Nia's flushed forehead. Doctor, please, take care of my baby first. Dr. Chun didn't hesitate. His team moved with practiced urgency for fluids administered. Blood drawn, temperature monitored, broad-spectrum antibiotics prepped and administered. The quality of care was immediate, comprehensive, professional. Through the observation window of the treatment room, Kesha watched the ER shift in real time, like a living organism finally waking up. Holbrook sat slumped at the nurse's station, staring at her own trembling hands, as if they no longer belonged to her. Voss paced in frantic circles, phone to her ear, calling union reps and employment lawyers, voice shaking with desperation. Other staff whispered not just about tonight, but about their own past interactions with black and brown patients, suddenly re-examined under a much harsher light. Then, respectful knock at the treatment room door. Security guard Malcolm Rivers. Mrs. Harris, he removed his cap. I just wanted to say, I've never been prouder to wear a badge in my entire career. Kesha turned to him, exhausted but steady. Malcolm Rivers, your personnel file includes 3 commendations for advocacy and integrity. You acted with moral courage tonight. That won't be forgotten. 45 minutes later, the tide finally turned. The fever broke. The antibiotics began working. The four fluids replenished what exhaustion had stolen. And Nia's breathing? Fully stabilized. Natural color began returning to Nia's cheeks. She stirred gently in her mother's arms, her voice soft and slurred. "Mommy, I feel so much better now." And just like that, Kesha Harris felt it, the surge of pure relief flooding through her like a dam bursting open. The corporate warfare, the live stream spectacle, the press calls, the courtroom in waiting. All of it was worth it, just for this one moment. The real twist wasn't that she was powerful. The twist was that she had been the most powerful person in the building the entire time. Dr. Chun re-entered treatment room 12, a printout in hand, and visible relief on his face. "Mrs. Harris, her labs are back. Severe dehydration and acute streptococcal infection. Not bacterial meningitis. She'll make a full recovery with antibiotics and rest over the next 48 hours. Kesha stood, cradling her now peacefully sleeping daughter. "Thank you, Dr. Chun. Your medical professionalism and human decency tonight won't be forgotten." She carried Nia gently to the private consultation room, her daughter's breathing calm, her body relaxed, fever broken. The immediate emergency had passed, but the institutional reckoning was just getting started. At exactly 3:52 a.m., the hospital's glass lobby doors opened. Margot stepped inside, leading a formidable team of 6 attorneys from Morrison Bradley and Associates. Their briefcases gleamed under the fluorescent lobby lights. Their pace, deliberate, legal, inevitable. The most expensive and aggressive legal firm in the tri-state area. Annual corporate retainer, $2.3 million. Their specialty, high-stakes corporate discrimination cases. Complex healthcare litigation. This was not their first courtroom war. Margot's voice was calm but resolute as she addressed Kesha, her iPad already open, stylus tapping efficiently. "Mrs. Harris, everything from tonight has been fully documented." Margot's reputation for efficiency had made her indispensable across multiple Fortune 500 executive suites. Full social media archives, preserved. Security footage, requisition orders filed. Witnesses, contact information cataloged. Hospital employee records, secured for all involved parties. The TikTok live stream had transcended viral entertainment. It was now legal evidence. Active viewer count, 127,000 plus across all platforms. Screenshots, screen recordings, detailed timestamps, eyewitness testimonies, pouring into the legal archive faster than seasoned paralegals could keep up. Kesha turned, her tone cool and executive-level sharp. "David, our comprehensive exposure assessment." David Morrison, senior partner, stepped forward, a heavy leather briefing folder under his arm. Inside, federal statutes, case law precedents, historical benchmarks. He didn't sugarcoat it. Dr. Patricia Holbrook has violated Section 1980, one of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, federal statute regarding racial discrimination in public accommodations. Administrator Janet Voss directly enabled that violation via administrative authority. Both face personal civil liability in excess of $500,000 each. And depending on the final DOJ review, potential criminal referrals. The numbers weren't just high. They were financially fatal. Personal ruin. Professional disqualification. Historical disgrace. What about institutional liability? Kesha didn't flinch as she posed the question, eyes scanning the thick legal analysis in her lap, one hand gently stroking Nia's now steady forehead. David Morrison didn't hesitate. Metro General faces potential class action exposure from every minority patient treated by Dr. Holbrook during her 25-year tenure. Conservative legal estimate, $15 to $30 million in cumulative civil settlements. Aggressive projection, up to $50 million, especially if the DOJ files institutional discrimination charges under federal jurisdiction. Nia slept peacefully. Her medical safety was secured. Her mother's legacy was just beginning. Now came the harder work, systemic change. Kesha stood, posture perfect, eyes calm, and command ready. "Margot," she said evenly, "convene an emergency board of directors meeting. Full encrypted video conference. I want every member online within 30 minutes. Already arranged per your standing protocol, Mrs. Harris. All 9 board members are on standby. Encrypted. Waiting." The corporate machine spun to life, cold, seamless, and terrifyingly efficient. Across 4 states, 9 private residences lit up with secure HD conference feeds. Each board member represented millions in healthcare investment. Their decisions shaped regional policy, controlled hospital affiliations, and influenced legislature behind closed doors. First to appear on the split screen, Patricia Hendricks, Vice Chair. Former investment banker. Current healthcare portfolio worth $112 million. Her face appeared sharp and fully alert on the conference monitor. Kesha, she said simply, we've been monitoring the social media fallout all night. This situation has reached genuine national media attention, said Patricia Hendricks, her tone tight, eyes scanning 2 additional monitors off camera. We're looking at potential federal discrimination charges against our flagship hospital. The weight of her next words carried the kind of consequence boardrooms are built to avoid. Our institutional reputation is at immediate risk. Our Medicare reimbursement contracts could be subject to federal review. Our hospital accreditation may face emergency regulatory scrutiny. The financial implications weren't hypothetical. Metro General processed approximately $340 million annually in Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. A formal federal discrimination finding could trigger comprehensive audits, temporary suspension of reimbursements, full-scale operational reviews. James Morrison, another board member, joined the video call from his Connecticut estate, the fireplace behind him flickering against polished oak. Kesha, he said evenly, what's our immediate crisis response strategy? Kesha didn't hesitate. Complete personnel restructuring. Effective immediately. Dr. Holbrook will submit her resignation tonight. Voss will be terminated for cause before sunrise. We will implement full-scale, hospital-wide bias detection protocols within 72 hours. Another board member chimed in. And the viral video? It's everywhere. Trending globally. The metrics were unprecedented. #earracism had reached 2.3 million mentions across every major platform. Requests for statements came in from 12 international news agencies. The story was front and center on BBC World News, Deutsche Welle International, Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Kesha didn't blink. We will use this moment. Strategically. This won't be corporate damage control. This will be documented institutional reform. As she spoke, Margot was already distributing the reform protocol documents via encrypted board email. Each file time-stamped, organized, legally validated. New hiring procedures. Real-time bias detection software. Whistleblower protections. Patient advocacy systems. Community engagement programs. Then Kesha raised her eyes to the 9 faces staring back through the screen. I'm proposing the Harris Protocol, she said calmly. Zero tolerance for patient discrimination. Real-time bias detection and flagging. Immediate intervention by senior medical ethics officers. Full transparency in all patient treatment decisions. Board member Sarah Chun scrolled through the reform documents on her sleek tablet, scanning line items with trained financial eyes. What are the total implementation costs for this overhaul? Kesha answered without hesitation. $4.2 million. That includes full system transformation, advanced bias detection tech integration, mandatory staff retraining programs, community outreach initiatives, ongoing third-party compliance monitoring. Motion approved, declared Patricia Hendricks, unanimously. There was no debate, no hesitation. When do we begin? Kesha's voice was steady, composed. Tomorrow morning. 6 a.m. sharp. Press conference at 10 a.m. Full media access. Full transparency. We won't hide what happened tonight. We'll lead the change that follows. The emergency board meeting officially concluded at 4:23 a.m. By sunrise, systemic reform would already be in motion. Meanwhile, deep inside the now-deserted hospital cafeteria, Dr. Patricia Holbrook sat alone beneath the humming fluorescent lights. The form before her, a single-page handwritten resignation letter. 25 years of medicine. Hundreds of lives saved. Thousands of patients served. But all of it, now overshadowed by one night. One decision. One recorded act of bias. Broadcast to hundreds of thousands. Witnessed forever. Her hands trembled as she lifted the pen. The career she'd spent decades building ended in 15 strokes of ink. Janet Voss faced a very different corporate reality. Her termination for cause was immediate. No severance. No benefits continuation. No professional references. After 22 years in hospital administration, her career ended in a matter of hours, not with a resignation letter, but with security personnel quietly escorting her from the building. No applause. No handshakes. just the sound of her staff badge being surrendered at the front desk. Meanwhile, the college student's TikTok livestream crossed a staggering milestone, over 200,000 active viewers by dawn. But the comment sections, they had evolved. No longer just spectators. They had become digital town halls. This is why bias detection tech matters. I've had similar ER experiences and no one believed me. This is what accountability looks like. This isn't a story. This is policy now. Tag your reps. Healthcare has to change. What began as a viral confrontation had grown into genuine civic dialogue. It was no longer entertainment. It was discourse. It was history. Margot approached the consultation room, phone in hand. Kesha was still seated beside Nia, who slept peacefully, her breathing steady and skin cool again. Mrs. Harris, Margot's tone was calm, controlled, but quietly reverent. CNN has requested an exclusive sit-down interview. Good Morning America is offering a live studio appearance. The Associated Press is preparing a full investigative series on healthcare discrimination. Kesha took a breath, gently adjusting the blanket around her daughter's shoulders. Schedule CNN for this afternoon. We'll use that platform to publicly announce our reform initiative. Her voice was soft, unshakable. It's time the world hears what institutional accountability looks like from the top. This was never about corporate punishment, Kesha said quietly, watching the first soft rays of sunrise peek through the blinds of the consultation room. It's about systemic prevention. At 5:15 a.m., her phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. Harris, D.C. Kesha answered, her voice calm but alert. Mrs. Harris, came the voice on the line. This is Senator Patricia Johnson, chair of the Senate Healthcare Committee. We've been closely monitoring tonight's events via social media and press outlets. Would you be willing to provide formal testimony regarding healthcare discrimination at our upcoming congressional hearings? Kesha didn't hesitate. This wasn't about one hospital anymore. This was about policy, infrastructure, legacy. Senator Johnson, she replied, voice grounded, I would be genuinely honored to testify. I'll share everything, our experience, our documentation, and our reform protocol. What happened tonight must never happen again. At exactly 6 a.m., Metro General Hospital's official Twitter account posted a statement unlike anything in its 94-year history. Metro General Hospital acknowledges that racial discrimination occurred in our emergency department tonight. We accept full institutional responsibility. The message was direct, unfiltered, historic. There was no PR spin, no vague language, no denial, just the truth. The world didn't just witness a confrontation. They witnessed a reckoning, a transformation, and the beginning of a new standard in healthcare. Comprehensive reforms began immediately. The Harris Protocol was no longer just a crisis response. It became Metro General Hospital's operational standard. Systematic change had begun. 6 months later, Metro General had transformed into a national model for healthcare equity. The Harris Protocol functioned with mathematical precision. Real-time bias detection systems monitored every patient interaction. AI algorithms analyzed speech patterns, response times, and treatment decisions for discriminatory trends. When bias indicators were triggered, automated intervention protocols activated instantly. Ethical review teams followed up on every flag with legal and medical oversight. Dr. James Chun, now Chief of Emergency Medicine, addressed the board via secure video conference. The transformation has been remarkable, he said. 0 confirmed bias incidents in 6 months. Patient satisfaction among minority communities is up 73%. Management-level diversity is an all-time high. We've processed over 15,000 emergency room visits since implementation without a single discrimination complaint. The financial impact exceeded expectations. Metro General became a destination employer for top medical professionals nationwide. Patient volume increased 31%. Private insurance providers offered premium tier contracts. The hospital's reputation became synonymous with trust. But the true legacy extended far beyond the building's walls. The Harris Protocol began spreading across the country. 47 hospitals in 12 states implemented similar systems. Medical schools integrated discrimination prevention into mandatory training. The American Medical Association adopted Chen's protocols as the new national standards. And then, history was written into law. Kesha Harris's congressional testimony before the Senate Healthcare Committee went viral. She outlined everything: the injustice, the reform, the measurable results. Her testimony catalyzed sweeping national legislation. The Healthcare Equity and Patient Dignity Act passed both chambers with bipartisan support. It required all hospitals receiving Medicare funds to implement bias detection systems, transparency protocols, and anti-discrimination safeguards. President Biden signed the bill into law during a White House ceremony in the Rose Garden. Standing beside him was Kesha Harris, composed, commanding, and calm. At her side stood her daughter Nia, smiling, fully recovered, holding her mother's hand. The same child who had once been denied care now stood as a symbol for every patient who would never be ignored again. More significantly, Nia had witnessed her mother transform personal trauma into systemic reform that now protected millions of patients nationwide. She hadn't just been saved. She had been seen, and the world had been forced to see her too. Dr. Patricia Holbrook faced very different consequences. Her medical license was still under formal review by the state medical board. No hospital would touch her, not with the viral footage, the documented civil rights findings, and the global spotlight attached to her name. She enrolled in a court-mandated bias awareness program. Now she worked behind the scenes as a medical consultant for a law firm that specialized in discrimination cases. Once a lead physician, now a cautionary footnote. Janet Voss had landed a position as a night shift supervisor at a small rural clinic. Her salary had dropped from $78,000 to $31,000 annually. In healthcare administrative circles, her name had become a warning, not a reference. The original TikTok livestream had surpassed 12 million views across all platforms. Its impact didn't fade, it evolved. Marcus Rivera, the college student behind the stream, received a full scholarship to journalism school, an internship at CNN, and later, a co-producer credit on a documentary about healthcare discrimination, one that went on to win 3 Emmy Awards. Security guard Malcolm Rivers was promoted to hospital safety director. His decision to stand up to say no more became part of national training videos used in healthcare facilities across the country. His daughter, Zara, now 9 years old, often visited the hospital with pride. She knew exactly what her father had done. He hadn't just protected a child that night. He'd protected a future. Nurse Maria Mendoza was promoted to patient advocacy coordinator. She now trained new staff in bias recognition and ensured equitable treatment across all departments. Her quiet courage that night had not only been seen, it had become institutional policy. This was no longer just a story. It had become a blueprint for every hospital, every patient, every community. The patient advocacy coordinator position had been created specifically in response to Nurse Maria Mendoza's exemplary conduct during the discrimination incident. It wasn't a title. It was a recognition of how individual courage could spark institutional change. Black stories matter, not just because they're powerful, but because they illuminate systemic issues that impact entire communities. And when stories of discrimination overcome by determination are told, they inspire others to speak up, demand change, and refuse silence. The emergency room where it all began had been completely renovated. Brighter lighting, updated tech, calmer energy. Near the entrance, a small, bronze plaque was installed. It read simply, "In commitment to dignity, respect, and equitable care for all patients." Most visitors passed it without a second glance. But the staff knew. It marked the night the hospital, and the healthcare system, changed forever. Kesha Harris's Harris Medical Group had since expanded into 6 additional states. Annual revenue reached $4.22 billion, making it one of the largest healthcare networks in the country. But for Kesha, the numbers weren't the measure of success. What mattered were the systematic changes, hundreds of facilities, thousands of staff, millions of patients now treated with equity and dignity. The original discrimination incident had cost Metro General $2.8 million in legal fees, settlements, and system upgrades. But the hospital's reputation and public trust had rebounded dramatically. In the first year alone, they generated $15.7 million in additional revenue. Justice had proven profitable. Nia Harris, now a bright, curious 4th grader at St. Matilda's Academy, occasionally visited her mother's hospital. Staff recognized her, the little girl whose dangerous fever had sparked a nationwide healthcare revolution. But Nia didn't see herself that way. She was focused on soccer practice, friendship bracelets, and math homework. She didn't yet understand that her story had changed history. She just knew that now every child who came through those ER doors would be seen, heard, treated, respected, because her mother made sure of it. The live stream audience had evolved into something much more than spectators. They had become a grassroots advocacy network. Thousands of former viewers now monitored hospital social media accounts, reported discrimination incidents in real time, provided moral and digital support to patients experiencing bias. What began as digital activism had become real-world accountability. A meta-analysis conducted by the CDC revealed that hospitals implementing Harris Protocol-style bias detection systems saw an 89% reduction in discrimination complaints, improved patient outcomes across all demographic groups, enhanced trust and satisfaction in underserved communities. The model had become the gold standard for equitable healthcare delivery. During a recent interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, Kesha Harris reflected on that night in February, the night that changed everything. Her voice was calm, measured, resolute. Sometimes the system only responds to power. But real change happens when we use that power to lift others up, not tear people down. The transformation was complete, but the work continued. Because every patient deserves dignity, every family deserves respect, and every person deserves equitable treatment, regardless of race, income, or background. The Harris Protocol had become more than a policy. It had become a promise, a standard, a legacy, a movement. And it all began with one mother, one child, and one night that refused to be forgotten. It had become a movement. Today, Nia Harris is a healthy 9-year-old who plays soccer and excels in mathematics. She doesn't fully understand how her fever that February night helped transform healthcare for millions of Americans. But she knows one thing for certain. Her mother fought for her when others wouldn't. That's the power of a mother's love, combined with strategic thinking and corporate responsibility. Kesha Harris continues to lead Harris Medical Group, now operating 127 hospitals across 9 states. But her greatest achievement isn't financial success. It's the systematic transformation she sparked, ensuring that no other family has to experience what hers endured in that ER. The ripple effects keep expanding. Medical schools now require bias and equity training. Insurance companies offer premium rates to hospitals with verified equity metrics. Patients have real-time digital tools to report discrimination instantly. Healthcare has become more human because one woman refused to accept inhumane treatment. These real-life stories matter. They show how individual courage becomes institutional change. They show how Black stories illuminate the systemic injustices that entire communities endure. They remind us that stories of discrimination overcome by determination inspire others to demand justice and equality. The viral footage from that night has now been viewed over 15 million times. It's been translated into 12 languages. It's studied by international health systems. It's analyzed in medical ethics courses. It's become a global example of how power, properly used, can create permanent, positive change. But this isn't just a story about one powerful CEO who happened to own a hospital. It's about what happens when power meets purpose, when privilege chooses accountability, when one woman decides enough is enough, not just for her child, but for everyone's child. This story represents every person who has been dismissed, overlooked, or discriminated against, not because of who they are, but because of how they look. It represents every family judged unfairly, every individual treated as less than human. The difference is, Kesha Harris had the resources and the power to fight back. But she didn't use that power for revenge. She used it for reform. Not for punishment, but for prevention. Not for personal gain, but for societal progress. The emergency room where it all began still operates 24 hours a day. And the staff who were there that night? They tell every new employee the same thing. Treat every patient with dignity. Every time. No exceptions. The Harris Protocol runs seamlessly now, preventing discrimination before it happens. At a recent medical conference, Dr. James Chun said, "We learned that bias isn't always intentional, but it's always harmful. And systems can change hearts and minds faster than any lecture or sensitivity seminar ever could." What started as a college student's live stream became more than just viral content. It became accountability. Digital witnesses demanded justice. Social media became a force for change, not just entertainment. Malcolm Rivers, now hospital safety director, still works the same halls where he once stood and said, "No, I won't follow that order." He tells his daughter Zara about that night often. Sometimes doing the right thing costs something, he says. But doing the wrong thing? It costs everything. Your voice matters in this conversation. If you've ever witnessed discrimination in healthcare, share your story in the comments. You could help someone else recognize bias. You could help someone demand better. Like the video and subscribe to Stories of Becoming for more stories of resilience, justice, and systemic change. Share this video to show the world accountability isn't just possible, it's happening. Because every person deserves dignity, every family deserves respect, and every story deserves to be heard. And sometimes, justice delayed isn't justice denied. Sometimes it's justice amplified.